Have you ever woken up and just felt like things are incredibly hard right now? You feel like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders or maybe sitting on your chest, and it's just like the thought of getting out and going back into reality, days after days, is just chipping away at you. And the more and more that you go through this process, the more and more you start to notice that maybe your confidence isn't where it used to be, or maybe the drive and the passion that you had isn't quite there anymore. And trust me, I've been there and I can relate to you. And the hardest thing about this is thinking, how do I get out of this? Because the things which you may have been doing in the past aren't working anymore. Maybe the work harder mentality, maybe I'll snap out of this mentality, or maybe once I get this over the line, things will get easier mentality. It's not quite working for you anymore. And you're probably noticing right now that maybe you're overthinking situations more, maybe you're second guessing things, and you're thinking to myself, shit, I never used to be like this. I used to be like shooting off the hip. I had this ambition, this drive, this natural go-getter about me, and you seen what you wanted and you were going for it, and you didn't really care about what was in your way. And that does not mean that you're not a nice guy. You just know what your ambitions were, your drive was, and you knew what your skill set was. You just had this flow about you. And I'm going to take you back to a time where I was incredibly stuck, a stage where things were just incredibly hard for me. And this got to a stage where back 7 years ago when I was playing rugby league in Australia, I had my third knee reconstruction on my right knee. And what I noticed was every time that I went through these reconstructions, which was a 9 to 12 months recovery, I always felt this feeling of like heaviness hit me. I felt like this sense of like no drive, this anxiety coming and going all the time, and it just always be sitting on my chest. And I got to the stage where I just didn't know what to do. I could keep myself busy until the busy was just me avoiding the task, me avoiding what was actually going on in my inner world. Until I realized after my third knee reconstruction that I just didn't have nothing to get up for anymore. I didn't know what direction I was going. I didn't know where I was going, but I was this person who was extremely busy all the time. But I was being busy, but doing nothing. Does that make sense? I was extremely busy, but going around in circles. I'd get home going, what did I do today? Where am I going? Until I realized that my life was actually worked up on fear again. I didn't know who I was, and my nervous system was jacked incredibly. But the biggest thing that I was carrying was this emotional baggage. Now, that happens over time. That happens over experiences. That happens in life when you're someone who's ambitious. You're someone who's go-getting all the time. You're someone who's driven. After so long, this heavy anchor that's potentially been wrapped around you for so long, it just gets too heavy. And what happens after a stage is you just get to this breakdown. You get to the stage, you're going, I don't know who I am anymore. I've had this life. I've got this life. I've got the job. I've got the income, the holidays, the cars. I've got the family. But I just don't feel a part of it anymore. I don't feel that I'm in this. I don't feel like I'm the leader of my life anymore. And what tends to happen when you get to this stage is you start to become reactive. You start to take things a lot more personal, but you actually start to lose your voice. When people come for you for advice or opinions or X, Y, and Z, instead of you being that leader and getting stuff done, you actually shrink. You actually drift. You stop doing the things which you know you should be doing because they overwhelm you, just the thought of them. And the worst part is it starts to ripple into your family life. You start to avoid having conversations at home with your partner. You start to snap more. You start to become more reactive. You start to avoid things. And this actually stems then into your own personal life. The things like hitting snooze in the morning. Those good things that you do for yourself. Maybe if it's going to the gym or going out socially or, training. And I'm telling you right now, you may have read the books. You may have listened to the podcasts. And all this information's out there. But the biggest thing that you're struggling with is not all of that. It's actually knowing where to go next. Knowing what action I should take right now. And this is something that's extremely common with ambitious people. Your all or nothing mentality. But when you're all in, you'll go get it. But if you don't know what you're going for anymore, if you don't know where your next direction is, and you've got all of this weight on your shoulders, and you've got people pulling you from this angle, and you don't even know yourself, then that's where it starts to cripple you. That's where getting out of bed in the morning becomes incredibly hard. And then once you're up, you're just living off junk food, coffees, impulse. You're reactive, you're anxious, and you're going, shit, where did this person come from? Now, I'm going to teach you today what's actually going on in your inner world. I'm going to teach you today and explain to you what's going on and how you can start to make change today by listening to this. Now, what's actually going on right now, as I've touched on, is your emotional baggage is so full right now. Internally, you're heavy. Maybe you're getting tension in your head, tightness in your chest, or even in your stomach. And it's just everything becomes hard work because you're just full right now, full of stress. The next thing then is your nervous system is jacked. So let's just say right now that there's an extra task put on your lap. Someone's asked something for you out of the blue. It's just instantly overwhelmed you. And before you know, you've get into that paralysis state where you can't feel like you can function properly. You're not thinking straight. This is where your confidence and self-worth is starting to diminish. But what actually is going on the top now is fear. Fear is there. Fear of rejection. Fear of failure. Fear of what other people think. So I'll stay in my lane and keep myself shrunk and hidden. That's not the real you. That's not the true you. But the biggest thing is you lost clarity in what you want. You lost the drive in who you was back then when you were thriving. That version is gone. Now, we can rediscover that today. We can rebuild that version today. But you've got to be willing to make that decision. You've got to be willing to take that step. You've got to be willing to go, you know what? That is me. I'm accepting it, and I'm willing to take that step into the direction of going, I want more. I want the old me back. I want my mojo back. But one thing you can't afford to do anymore. You can't afford to keep pointing the finger at other people. You can't afford to be playing the victim of your life. You can't afford to be going, I'm getting this internal dialogue coming up for me right now, and it's overwhelming me, so I'm going to blame X, Y, and Z, what's going on in my world. You got to remember this right now. Every time you point the finger at other people, there's three fingers pointing back at you. That's a reflection of what's going on in your own world. Now, in order for you to shift, in order for you to get clear on what you want to start to feel like the old you again, first and foremost, we need to get clear on what it is you want. What is it that's going to move the needle for you? What excites you? What is something that when you put your focus and energy on it, things start to click again for you, start to feel like the old you again. The next thing then is understanding what's going on in your nervous system. How can we regulate your nervous system? Whether that's understanding what's going on in your subconscious world, the fears, the triggers, the patterns and behaviors. And if we can start to remove the emotions connected to these areas, that's going to regulate your nervous system. And the biggest thing is understanding that this emotional baggage, this tank that you've been holding, well, it's got to go. Now, the best thing that happens with the clients that I work with is we remove all of these areas. I work with you on a weekly basis, which we remove this emotional baggage. We start to regulate your nervous system. We start to get you clear again on what you want and build structure and systems around this. So life doesn't overwhelm you anymore. In fact, you have every tool. You learn how to master your emotions, and you start to have that energy that you once had in the past come back into your life. Because the biggest thing is right now, you just want to feel content again. You want to start to feel alive again instead of surviving every day. Now, that happens in the Alpha Reset program, and this is something that I help all of my clients overcome so they can start to thrive again, fall in love with their business, fall in love with themselves, and more importantly, get connected again in the relationships. Instead of just coasting or feel like we're ebbs and flows, I want you to be firing. But it always starts with you. We can change everything on the surface, but we need to first and foremost shift what's going on in your subconscious. What are the triggers? What are the fears? And then we start to reverse engineer that back. Now, if there's anything you can take from this right now is you're not stuck. You just need clarity again. And you can get that tomorrow. You can get that today. You can get that whenever you want if you're willing to make the move into that direction. If you're willing to make that underlying conscious answer right now to yourself and go, yep, that's me. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to put my life back into that area. I'm ready to improve my income. I'm ready to get my fire in me again back. That energy, that purpose, that drive. If you want that back, that's achievable. But you've got to be willing to make that first step. Now, if this sounds like you, I would love you to comment the word alpha below, and I'll send you something right now which can help instantly. And if you want to find out more, Click my newsletter down below as well also, and I'll give you every sequence on what can help you on a day-to-day basis via emails. And if you want to get in part, and if you want to get enclosed even more with my one-to-one coaching and part of the community of the Alpha Reset program with the Olioles coaching, simply direct message me today on YouTube, Instagram, any social media platform, the word Alpha, and I'll send you everything that you need to know, and we'll jump on a call as soon as possible. Let's go.